Hello, and welcome back to This Month on the Railroad, my video series where I recap the major North American rail news stories of each month. After a 1-month hiatus for American High-Speed Rail Week 2, I'm back, and due to popular demand, I'll be quickly running through the most important stories of the month I missed. If you don't want to hear about what happened in May, just skip to this timestamp to only hear June's news. Anyways, let's get started. On May 4th, Metro revealed a new special paint scheme on F40PH-3 number 104. Incorporating parts of Chicago's city flag, it pays homage to Metro's hometown. 2 days later, on the 6th, Orlando businesses pledged $125 million for Brightline and Sunrail to build a so-called Sunshine Corridor between Orlando International Airport and Disney Springs. On the 14th, SEPTA sent their 8 retired AEM-7s and ALP-44 off to be scrapped. After years of shuffling between storage and non-revenue service, these well-worn electrics are finally meeting their end. 3 days later, Brightline rolled into Orlando International Airport for the first time. While their line between West Palm Beach and Orlando isn't complete yet, this was the first time Brightline officially ran in Orlando. On the 20th, the Phoenix Valley Metro Tempe streetcar began service after many months of testing. This streetcar service uses hybrid-powered Brookville Liberty cars which are capable of temporarily operating without overhead wires thanks to batteries. On the 24th, CT Rail's Shoreline East began using Metro North M8 electric multiple units on their line between New Haven and Old Saybrook, allowing for their older diesel trains to transition over to service on the Hartford line. 2 days later, Amtrak Siemens ALC-42s number 310 and 311 departed the Siemens Mobility Factory in Florin, California. From this point on, I'll stop covering Amtrak ALC-42 deliveries as they'll be more or less the same from now on. Finally, on May 28th, Amtrak upgraded its infrastructure in New Jersey, allowing for Acela trains to go 150 miles per hour as opposed to 135 miles per hour. While this seems like a big change, this increased speed limit only shaves about 90 seconds off the trip time between New York and Philadelphia, but it certainly serves as good marketing now that the Acela can hit its advertised top speed of 150 miles per hour in more than just Massachusetts and Rhode Island. And that's the speed run of May's news. Now let's get into June. On the 1st, CSX officially took over Pan Am Railways. This was the beginning of a year-long process to slowly take over, meaning that it didn't all instantly change everything. Over the course of the month, CSX began running some trains all the way to Portland, Maine, without switching out CSX engines for Pan Am ones, and also a few Pan Am Railways Dash 8s made their way onto CSX main lines, but other than that, operations remained more or less the same. Additionally, on the 1st, Brightline received a $15.875 million federal grant, which Brightline would provide a 50% price match on, making for a total of almost $32 million for their future Orlando to Tampa route set to debut by the end of the decade. This federal grant will help pay for the development of this new route. Keeping with the theme of Brightline, a week later, on the 7th, Brightline's CEO Wes Edens informally announced that Brightline plans to start service to Orlando by Christmas this year, meaning that Brightline is actually ahead of schedule in terms of building the Orlando extension. Certainly not something you see much in North America. On the 24th, after almost no notable news for almost 2 weeks, ATSF 5704 began its westbound journey to California after undergoing a full cosmetic restoration in Kansas City. Just in time for the 4th of July, this patriotic locomotive made a return to rails, traveling over 1,000 miles to its next destination. In even more exciting news, on the same day, the Texas Supreme Court supported the Texas Central High-Speed Rail project, allowing them to claim eminent domain to build their line, meaning that the process of land acquisition will be much easier going forward. While this is a huge step in the right direction, Texas Central still has a lot of work to do in terms of development and later construction. 3 days later, on the 27th, Amtrak's Maple Leaf returned to Canada, making it the first of Amtrak's cross-border trains to return after 2 years of only operating in the United States. As Canada's beginning to open back up to America's trains, their other cross-border routes, such as the Cascades and Adirondack, will return as well. Unfortunately, though, on this same day, the Disney Corporation announced that it had cut ties with Brightline after no land was found for a station at Disney Springs. My guess is that last month's support from other Orlando tourist attractions convinced the railroad to look into a station more tailored to serving all of Orlando instead of just Disney. Regardless, this is some unfortunate news from Disney, and frankly, a missed opportunity on their part. Finally, the last bit of news from the 27th is that CSX announced their plans to rebuild 15 aging EMD ST40-2s into new Wabtec ET23 DCMs, otherwise meaning that these EMDs will be converted to light-duty GEVOs, something completely unprecedented in the American locomotive industry. These new EMD GEVOs will use GE's new L250 turbodiesel 6-cylinder, one of the smallest engines ever used in an American locomotive. While right now this sounds pretty weird, it definitely makes sense why Wabtec is doing this, as right now there's no low-emission light-duty freight locomotive on the market, and these new 6-cylinder engines are capable of meeting the EPA's Tier 4 emissions standards, the agency's strictest. 2 days later, on the 29th, Chicago's CTA wrapped one train into vintage colors for the agency's 75th anniversary. This new heritage unit will operate on the red and blue lines through October. Finally, on the last of the month, we got some of the biggest news of the past year, in which the California High-Speed Rail project received $4.2 billion in state funding, meaning that the California High-Speed Rail Authority should have enough money to complete the Central Valley section of their line between Merced and Bakersfield. After years of struggling to get funding, California High-Speed Rail can finally be built. What a way to end this episode on a good note. Anyways, that's all for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later this week in another new video.